Let me say this as plainly as I can. It is flat out wrong that a veteran can finally raise their hand and say, I need mental health help. And the answer from the system is, come back in 6 months, maybe a year. That's not care. That is delay dressed up as a process. And here's the part that you should be very angry about. When somebody does reach out for mental health care, they're not window shopping. They're not casually browsing like they're picking out a new phone plan. They're at a point where something is heavy, something is breaking down, and something is already costing them sleep, peace, relationships, and maybe even hope. And in that moment, the bureaucracy answers with a wait list. That's the injustice. Because the need is immediate, but the system moves like urgency is optional. I want you to picture 2 doors. Behind door number 1 is what common sense says should happen. A veteran asks for help. The system recognizes the urgency. The system says, hey, you served. We said we were going to take care of you. You need care. Let's get you in right now. Fast, clean, direct. No maze, no nonsense, and no administrative shell game. Behind door number 2 is what too many veterans actually get. They ask for help, and instead of treatment, they get process. They get referrals. They get nowhere. They get scheduling delays. They get told to wait. They get pushed into layers of intake, authorization, triage, and handoff like a human being in distress is just another case moving through workflow management. That second door is the problem. And this is exactly why the Valor Will Bridge program exists. The Bridge program exists because the gap between I need help now and the system can finally see you. It's not a small inconvenience. It is the danger zone. The gap is where people deteriorate. That gap is where symptoms intensify. It's where families get hit and where somebody starts wondering whether anyone actually plans to help them at all. We built our Bridge program for that gap, not for theory, not for branding, not for awareness theater, for the gap. Because awareness by itself does not get a veteran into a session. A ribbon doesn't get somebody into therapy. A slogan doesn't get anyone stabilized. A nice speech doesn't create any continuity of care even. Actual care does. And what we kept seeing was this. Veterans would do the hard part. They would make the call. They would ask for help. They would try to go through the proper channels. They would try to use the benefits that they were promised. And then they'd run straight into access barriers, capacity problems, network issues, and bureaucratic drag. That's where the Bridge program steps in. Its purpose is simple. When a veteran is trying to access care and the normal path is stalled, delayed, or functionally unavailable, we provide a way to start getting help now instead of waiting for the machine to eventually catch up. That matters because mental health care is not something where delay is neutral. Delay has consequences. A month matters. 5 weeks matter. 3 months matters. And every month after that. Every extra week a person is left untreated can mean more anxiety, more depression, more instability, more strain on their marriage, and more impact on parenting. More risk, more hopelessness. The damage doesn't politely pause while the system sorts itself out. That's what too many people don't seem to understand. The problem is not just that the process is slow. The problem is that the process is slow in a situation where slowness can do real harm. And the Bridge program is built on one very basic human idea. If someone needs help and the situation is dire, and the institution that is supposed to provide that help cannot do it in a usable time frame, then someone has to step in and bridge that delay with real care. And that's us. Now, let's talk some common sense here. If your house is on fire, nobody says, we can get a truck there in 8 months. If your kid breaks an arm, no one says, we'll pencil you in next season. If your brakes go out, you do not park the car and say, well, I guess I'll just circle back in half a year. You act now because the condition demands urgency. Mental health is no different. no matter how often the system treats it like it is. And that's one of the biggest lies that are baked into this whole mess. The idea that behavioral health can be delayed without consequence because the wound it's not visible from the outside. But invisible does not mean non-urgent. Emotional pain does not mean lesser pain. And psychological distress is not a paperwork problem. It's a care problem. The Bridge program exists to answer that care problem with an actual response. Not a brush off, not a runaround, not a temporary bandage pretending to be treatment. A real bridge. And I want to be very clear about what that means. A bridge is not the final destination. It's the thing that gets you safely over that dangerous gap. And that's the whole point. We're not pretending that the system doesn't exist. We're not pretending veterans should have to rely on charity forever. We're not pretending that the long-term answer is to create some parallel universe where institutions get to fail and everyone else just cleans up the mess. What we're saying is this: until the promised care is actually accessible, somebody has to make sure the veteran is not left alone in the gap. That's the moral case for the Bridge program. That's the practical case for the Bridge program. And that is the common sense case for the Bridge program. And the reason it's needed is because the gap is real. It's real when appointments are too far out. It's real when referrals stall. And it's real when network access looks good on paper and falls apart in real life. It's real when a person is told help exists but can't actually touch it. That is one of the most maddening forms of bureaucratic failure there is, because it allows the system to say the benefit exists, but the veteran side of the table, the experience is, that may be true in theory, but I still can't get seen. That disconnect right there is where people lose trust, and where, honestly, they should. Because if a program exists, but a veteran still cannot reach that timely care, then the issue is not just policy, it's access, it's execution, it's operational failure, and it's network inadequacy. It is breakdown in continuity, and those are technical words, but the lived experience is simple. I asked for help, I was promised the help, and I still got stuck. And that is why this program matters. It turns a broken waiting period into an action plan. It turns a dead zone into a support path. And it turns somebody that should do something, someone should do something, into we are doing something. And I think a lot of people are hungry for that. Because most Americans are tired of being told to clap for veterans, post for veterans, talk about veterans, and feel bad for veterans, while the actual mechanics of care are broken. The Bridge program is what happens when we stop pretending that awareness is enough. It says if the system delay is broken, then bridging the delay has to become part of the solution. And that's why it's needed. That's why it matters. And that's why we're not backing off. We are not here to perform concern and act like it. We are here to close the gap between crisis and real care. And if you've ever looked at this problem and thought, how is this still happening? You're right to ask that. You're also right to be angry. But angry is only useful if it moves us to action. And that's what this is. It's action, real care, real urgency, real people refusing to leave veterans stranded in the space between asking for help and finally receiving it. We're in this together. And if this system has taught veterans anything, it's that waiting quietly does not fix injustice. People do. We do. And that is what the Bridge program is about.